the latest edition is. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to go through the 3 different tools that are there. There's Restyle, Background, and Imagine, and they do different things. We'll get into that. And then I'll talk a little bit about the limitations about these tools as they are now, and future possibilities within AI tools inside a Keyshot is probably going to be my focus around that. And you can say, just to get started, a few things about the Keyshot AI tools is that they run this new set of tools. They run locally on your own computer, which means that it's completely offline. It also means that you get unlimited generations. You can say, the only downside, or not downside, it's the power that you need to have a lot of power in your computer. That's kind of like a downside. It just means that you need a powerful GPU and lots of memory. And I have an M1 MacBook Pro with 64 gigabytes of RAM, and it works. It doesn't crash as much, actually, which is quite good. But it's still like it's slow, so I typically use a lower resolution when I use my generation when I generate images in there. But I will get to that. Also, as they mentioned themselves, Keyshot on their website, it says like all generative AIs are random and unreliable in nature. That is also true for this. So sometimes you get weird results. There are a few things that will help out, especially when it comes to the Restyle tool that is in here, where they also use the 3D geometry and some depth mapping to help the AI understand more about the object and the room or the environment in there. So that's quite helpful, actually. But sometimes they don't get the results that you want. So it's just fair to keep in mind. Oh yeah, and if there's any questions, what do we do there? You just put it in the chat, or we save it for later, or what do we do? What do you think, guys?
We can put it in the chat and then we can take it in the end.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, if I just look in the chat, I have it open over here, so I can look from time to time to check if there's anything. All right. Yeah, this is a few examples of what I generated inside of Keyshot as of today, or actually as of yesterday. And there's a bunch of different things. There's quite a few things with this object, which is supposed to be a stool. But also you can see some of the issues, and these are different types of images using primarily background and Restyle. I'll get into what they do, the different ones. It's just saying that you can get some results that are really weird, and you can get some really good results as well, like this one down here in the bottom, or this one over here on the left side, or this one. I mean, there are very good results as well. But there's also sometimes some weird stuff happening. But let's start out with Restyle. So Restyle basically uses, as I mentioned, the 3D data from your scene to generate an image from that. You don't actually need to have any materials on there, which is quite nice and handy. You can use the prompt to describe materials, for instance, which is super nice. But yeah, so that's basically something you can do. For instance, this one, the image that you see here, I'm going to zoom in on this one, which is basically just a screenshot. This is what was in my scene, a 3D model of a woman and a child, and the stool that I actually wanted to have a visual of, set in a small box here in the back, you made for a wall, and then a floor which I added some texture to, and then I had up an asset which was a plant over here on the left. And then I generated this image here that you see on the far left here using the Restyle, and you can see some of the prompt here, which is something with an apartment with a woman. I think it was a lovely lit apartment with a woman and her child standing in front of it, and a green plant next to it. So I think it was like a wooden object inside of this apartment. I think that was the start of this. So, and the reason for using the word wooden object and not a stool, I'll get back to that, because that is basically what happens. If I go back to this one, if I use the word stool, it added legs to it, no matter if it was freestyle or if it was background. It just didn't get it that this was the stool. It just wanted to add some legs. So sometimes you have to think about your prompt and then go back and say, okay, what can I then do to get around that problem? And if I said wooden object, it wouldn't put on the legs, which was super nice. So I just ended up prompting that every time, just wooden object, and that worked. And I didn't specify specifically if it were ash or oak or whatever. I just used the word wood for this test. And yeah, so I think it's quite good. Now you can understand what restyle is. I want to show you what restyle, how to use restyle inside a Keyshot. And I actually had a this one because I thought that was an interesting example actually, because it's got an object that is quite clear, but also it's up for interpretation sometimes for the if the AI actually know what this is. If I use the word, this is supposed to be a clock uh, with a light source on top of it, and I put it in this sort of room with some light on it. And this is all everything you see here. If I just zoom out and just do that real quick and use another, remove the depth of field. This is basically my scene. So my object is this little clock here, and then I have a cube and a backdrop. So it's quite a simple scene. But then I added the depth of field and that stuff. So this is a good example actually. So I can go in and I can start the AI shots. And down here in the right corner, you have to click this button called AI shots. And then this pane over here pops up, or this tab. And you can see down here, you can still go back to your library and you can go back in between the AI shots and the library. And then to start up this whole engine, you have to press the Start AI Engine. And then it will sort of, the first time you do that, it will actually ask you to download, I think, about 12.5 gigabytes of data, which is basically the model, their AI model that you download, and then it runs locally on your device. But that's the first time only. And then after that, you basically just have to press the Start AI engine up here, and then it will load it in and activate it, you can say. And then we can just, while we wait, because it takes a little time every time. Oh, we're good. You can see up here, you have the three options: restyle, background, and imagine. We'll go through all of them, but we'll just focusing on restyle right now. It says down here that you generate new renditions of your model with different materials and lighting. And it's great for exploring alternative design directions. That's what they think it's good for, and I agree. It's quite easy to just prompt something different with materials, for instance. And we'll try that out. Then you can see the resolution down here. It's set to a very low one, which is good, especially if you don't have a very powerful computer. You can change it to medium, which then goes up to 512 by 512, or you can go up to high, which is 1024. And this is what they sort of like already set, but you can also, if you click on this little wheel here, or not wheel, but cog, I guess, you can change the seat, but you can also unlock resolution, which means then you can go in and you can change the resolution up over here to a higher number if you want, or a smaller number, depending on what you're looking for. We'll go with medium to begin with. And then you can set the number of images down here. And this is obviously the most important one, which is where you write in the prompt. For this one, maybe we should start with not having anything in our scene except the thing we actually want to use. So I'm going over here, and then I'm gonna go and hide the backdrop and hide the cube and hide the light. Just basically gonna hide everything. Okay, so now I have this in my scene, and it's just very basic, nothing in it. And the reason for doing that is that when the AI then starts to look into this image, it only has this object to look for. So if I start doing, let's say I want to put this, what should we call it? Alarm clock in white plastic with a translucent diffuser on top. And we can put it somewhere. Let's put it on a bedside table. In a New York apartment. Evening light. Let's see that. See if this works. Let's see. And then you can basically just press start generation, and then it will start generating things. And you can also see how slow it is. So it's or fast, depending on how you think of it. I actually went to Keyshot while this is running. I can just talk a little bit. I went to Keyshot and visited the headquarters. It's in Denmark because Keyshot originally comes from Denmark. And we had a session about these AI tools, and it was actually this Tuesday, sorry. And some of the things we were talking about was exactly this issue with you need a lot of power for it to run. And that's sort of like we're discussing that when you compare the time it takes for this one to render out to something like an online service, Midjourney, for instance, then it feels very slow. But there are some very obvious advantages to doing it through Keyshots. The number one was obviously that it runs locally, which means that Keyshot doesn't get access to any of your data. It stays on your computer at all times, which is super great. So in terms of, let's say, IP or NDAs or anything that you're working with, it doesn't leave your computer, which is super great. So this whole privacy issue is basically solved with you running it locally. So that's like quite a big advantage, really. And another one you can say is the data that you generate here, or the images you generate, will not be used to enhance or train another model. So again, that's also very nice to keep in mind that you don't provide the model with anything new that it can learn from. It stays like this. But Keyshot keeps updating the model. So sometimes I think it was a couple of weeks ago they sent out an update to the model. So I had to download. I think it wasn't much, 100 megabytes or something that they wanted to update the model with. So they sort of work on the model and then update it from their side. But they still don't get anything from you, which is super nice. All right, the first image is about to be done here, and I would talk like 4 minutes or something. And this is a great example of how it interprets your form and doesn't really take into account that I already had a beautiful, not beautiful, but I had a display down here. It keeps on generating the images up here, which is super nice. And as you also noticed, it puts on feet. And this is one of the things where, because I put in alarm clock, and most alarm clocks that this model apparently has been trained on has feet on, I guess, or something like that. So it will take what it knows and then use that. So that's just like one of those things where the model is a little bit annoying, or you have to work with your prompt to get something that is better. Now I'm just going to let it run this one more time, and if it still has feet, I'll stop it, and then we'll maybe try and change the prompt. And then I think because it actually, the rest of it looks quite nice. Apparently there's this side table. It's a bedside table. At least it looks like it's close to a bed. There's some nice light. The scene in itself is pretty good. It's got white plastic. It understood quite a lot of it, but just like but again, this is a concept, right? And if you're in an early phase, let's say you're still exploring things and you don't really know if this is a great idea or not, then this is it's a kind of a nice alternative to say, okay, I need a bigger clock. Apparently this one is, and it is much more legible, right? So it might be a good example of how you can use the outputs that you generate to maybe iterate on your current design. So that's kind of like you have to be open-minded when you work with AI. I think that's one of the learnings that I've had so far with these tools, and not only in Keyshot, but actually in general. Let's see how the next one looks here. anyway, what you do is you have this generation. It will sort of like put it down here. Yeah, it adds a new one. Okay, it's better with I really like the diffuser, but I don't know why it keeps adding these legs. So let's just stop here for a second. Anyway, what you can do is you can view it in a little higher. I think you're supposed to click on this. Yeah, it will open up in a little bit larger window. Super nice depth of field and focus, I think. It understood without me actually having to do anything. It understood the perspective quite nicely, but it added the legs. Anyway, what you can do here, when you hover over this large image, you have three options. You can copy it and then paste it into something else. I can copy it right now, and then I can, let's say, go over here, and then paste it over here. So we have it down here. So you can quite easily move it around and get it into whatever you need to work it with. I'm also going to copy this one. But you can also save it locally to a folder that you would like to just by clicking on the Save Image button here. Let me just go back to this one, add this one here as well. Okay. All right. So this is basically how it works. You add more here in your small you can say library down here of AI shots that you generate. And then you can go back here and you can say, okay, so the translucent diffuser on top, this actually worked. I did write alarm clock. I'm just going to see if I can do something else over here instead of alarm clock. Maybe I'll write a device. Let's just use device. See if that works. So it's like a nondescript, the more general term, and that might actually be better. Also, you need, oh yeah, sorry, Pietro had a question here. Once you get an image that you like, how easy to generate shots from different angles, but maintain the same style, settings, environment? Yeah, that is a very good question. So one thing I learned so far, to answer your question, is that is really, really difficult to get. We can try and rotate this, but that's very much the issue with these tools, is that you don't really, every time you change the perspective, it will kind of lose everything that it learns. So the environment will be a little bit different every time. And that's why once this is done, I'll show you a little bit of a way to get it a little bit better and control it more. But that's basically, just saying it out loud, is to add these elements here. Now I can do this right now, even though this is working. I actually need to probably pause the window, because running the render and also running the AI engine just slows down everything. So I'm just going to pause that. I forgot that earlier, I think. But I can add images here because I already started the generation. And once you press start generation, it will take a snapshot of your scene and then use that and save the data, both the 3D geometry and everything that was in the scene at that point where you press start. So now I can basically add and rotate and do everything that I want in here to sort of help me out and work on the next thing I want to investigate. But of course, if you have that open, the window over here, it will slow down your generation over here in the AI shot. So I would not recommend that if you don't have a very powerful computer. But just saying that you can do it if you want. Now let's see if it's better with a device. I'm a little bit curious about that. If it removes the feed, which I'm hoping that it does. But going back to your question, oh, that was even worse. It's so great. Okay, so because it doesn't have any other information, it also tries to do things that you don't want it to. It only has this object in the scene, right? So if I add more, let me just stop this one immediately because this was even worse. Copy that one, put it into Miro, so we have it over here. All right. Now we have added these things over here. We have a table, and we have just zoom out a little bit here and then go into the camera and press the field away. Okay. So I'm quite happy with the scene as such, but I think we probably need to add something over here on the back. And I have a few models down here that I maybe can use to get more realism. the more you have in your scene, the better I think it understands scale and things like that. These are huge, these books, but okay, let's put them in. That doesn't work. No. Okay, they're there. That's bad. We'll hide those. That was a bad example. Okay, let's put something else in. I wanted to put this one. Really big plant, apparently. Okay, we'll scale it down a little bit, maybe. So sometimes this takes time, obviously, to build what you want. For this particular image that we're trying to get to, it doesn't really matter that much that it's floating around midair. It's so totally fine because I'm gonna crop in here anyway. So okay, and I don't need depth of field when I'm doing the AI shots, by the way. So this is my scene. I have a plant and I have the table kind of here down here. And then if I go back to the AI shots here, and then I'm gonna prompt it. So maybe not a device, maybe a lamp. Let's do a lamp instead of a low round lamp in a white plastic. Okay, this is probably the last one we're gonna try out just to see. We'll put it in a smaller one so we don't waste a lot of time. And then I'm just gonna pause this one so it goes a little faster because we need to go back to the other things we want to try out. But yeah, let's see how fast it runs. But adding these things can help out the AI engine, especially when you're talking about restyle. That's sort of like the benefit of using this tool because it understands the 3D geometry. Let's see here. It's a little bit faster when it's a lower resolution. When you have so one thing is that you can generate it a little bit faster here, so you can also get more examples. So already now it's much better. Obviously, the quality is not great, right? Because now it's a low resolution. We already have quite a few conversations. I had a few conversations with Keyshot around this, that they need to add some kind of upscaling inside of this inside of Keyshot. That would be awesome. Because right now I'm typically doing 512 by 512, and then I'm exporting it out, saving it, and then I'm using an AI upscaler somewhere to upscale the image to a higher resolution, which works really, really well actually in most cases. So it's sort of like a hack at the moment, but hopefully they'll update it soon and add an upscaler directly in here, which would be awesome. Not only for upscaling these AI shots, but also like if you have a render that you have rendered out in a smaller resolution, you can probably also upscale that, which would be great. All right, so it's already got 3 images down here. Let's give the last one. So this is the first one, the second one, and the third one, and they're quite nice. I especially like this first one here. So let me just copy that and put it over here. One thing that is really worth, you can also see how small it is compared to the other one. So obviously that's a drawback of using this. But you got to keep in mind that if your program or if Keyshot crashes, you actually lose everything that's in here right now. I've been told that they're working on a fix for that so that it won't happen, because right now all your AI shots that is generated exists, you can say, in this file here, but really it doesn't really exist in the file. It just exists somewhere in a cache, I guess. So if the program crashes, you lose everything. You lose everything. So, but I know that they're working on every time you render out and with an AI shot, it will be put in a folder at some point. Hopefully within the next update, they'll have that addressed. That would be awesome. But anyway, we have these 3 here now, and the results are better. Obviously, you can see in this image here, it tried to get some sort of display here, but it's so small and really grainy. But I mean, it really understood more or less the rest of the stuff. If you notice the geometry here on the right with the plant, it stays. I don't know if you can see it really easily, but it stays consistent. which is super nice. And it obviously keeps changing the table that it stays on, and the background changes all the time, but the general scene is good. What you can then do, and that was also back to you, Pietro, that if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to move around your scene a little bit and get it from another angle, you could do something like this, and then hit generating again. It's still the same prompt, but in the same assets, but just with a new angle, and then see what it will do with that angle there. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's because it looks a little bit weird because you can see this sort of inside of your model here. But again, you can sort of already tell what's possible with restyle based on this. And just copy this one as well. And put it over into Miro. There we go. All right. So it's definitely possible to do. Oh wow, purple. It's really creative, this one. But let me just stop there. Okay, good. So that's basically what you can do with, I'm just going to stop the engine as well. With Restyle is adding things and then having it sort of continue working with that or reinterpret what you have in the scene. If I changed, let's say I changed this lamp, instead of white plastic, I would have said, I don't know, what you can put something else, like another material. It would change the material. And because you don't need to have any materials on any of this, it will just like reinterpret the geometry and not what materials is on it. So you have to specify that for the moment at least. But you can then just say, let's say wood, for instance, and then that would have been what it was made of. But then I'm not sure you would get the right. Maybe the diffuser would be in wood as well. So that would probably not be so great. All right. I am gonna go over again to our little mirror board here and then go back to, we were talking about restyle, and then it's about background. If there's any questions about restyle, you can also just put them in and I'll go back to them at one point. But otherwise, background is the second tool that they have. And I would say it just creates a mask around your object, and then it sort of like generates an image in the back behind it, you can say. So for instance, for this one, I had like a box or yeah, a cube, and then I added my vase to the scene. And then I sort of asked it to put this in a museum, basically. I added like with people in the background looking at art and stuff. And then it generated this image here, which was quite nice and almost what I had in mind. So that was good. But it can also generate really, really weird things because there's no depth data. Compared to Restyle, this one doesn't have any depth data. But the advantage of this is actually that you get to use exactly what Keyshot already has. So if you have a really nice model with some materials that you like, it will keep that, and then it will generate the background, right? So that's quite a nice thing that you can do with background. And what did I have in mind for background? Because I wanted to demo that obviously as well. Let me see, did I put anything in here in my very little folder with nothing in? Oh, great. Let's try and do the robot here. That would be interesting to see how it does that. So I have this robot that I generated using some AI 3D generator. And I don't think I have anything else in the scene. If you have things in your scene other than your model, let's say you had a backdrop or something, you could not see what it generated. It wouldn't generate anything if that was like covering the whole thing. So you have to have only the model that you want or the things that you want to have visible in your scene. And then let's say you want to do something else like with the background. So in this case, for instance, I have this robot, which is yeah, maybe it's not the greatest example. If you want something else here as an example, you let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to use this for the sake of something that works in this case. It's going to take a little time to load again.
What 3D generator do you use for this type of models?
I think I used what's it called? Tipo. I think it's one of those. So you probably heard of, I don't know if you heard about it, but I use Crea.ai for generating all sorts of things, and especially the 3D assets, because they, let me just go into, thought this was a 3D, it is. Sorry, I have a lot of generations in here, as you probably can tell. Going back to my robot. Here we are. There's some robots here. Where's the one that I actually generated? There. So yeah, this one, that's an image, I guess. This one is generated. And what did I use? It didn't say anything. That was not very helpful for me, right? Okay, so I can't do that. But the one that I used is over here. So, no, there was Tripo I used for this one. Maybe I can see it here actually. That was another robot. There's the robot. Here you go. Tripo, yeah. So Tripo I used for this one, but I tried the other one as well, Yan. It's also made quite a okay result. But Tripo was better at generating what I had as a prompt. I used a Midjourney generated image, and then I put that in here and generated this 3D model, which is, I think, still insane that it can do it in so little time. All right, it's up and running. So you press on the background over here, and as it says here, generate backgrounds while preserving your model's geometry, materials, and lighting and everything, which is great in some cases. So if, for instance, I did this so I can see the whole robot, I think that would be maybe a good idea. It doesn't really matter if you can see the light environment, because it's not going to affect your, it's more or less what light is on your model is the interesting thing here. But let's say, okay, no, here's the thing about this. If you write, let's say, a robot, because that's what you have in your scene, in whatever environment you have, then you're gonna have a problem, because it will put in a robot as well as your own robot. So it's better to describe only the background. So for instance, in this case, I would say maybe an apocalyptic city street with land-covered cars or something. Cars in the background, burning buildings. Nah, that doesn't make any sense. Let's put some cloudy skies. Yeah, cloudy skies. Okay, that should be good. And then I'll just press pause on this one. So it kind of raised up quite nicely my model. So now what it's gonna do is it's gonna take a screenshot again and save whatever is on the here on the in the scene, and then it's gonna generate a background and then place it over here when it's done. So let's see how that works. So I still think that one of the issues that and this is with AI in general, these sort of visualization tools, is that so far they have been struggling with maintaining this consistency, especially as you can also see here, where it also keeps changing slightly everything. I think Wiscom is doing quite a good job in being more and more consistent with whatever it's working with, especially if it's objects it's really well known in, like cars or shoes or something. It's much better at understanding how it looks from different angles and stuff. But it's still something that I think most AI models struggles with is this thing about how to interpret 3D data. And I think that Restyle is a very good first round of a good first try, you can say, or stab at it. But it still needs a lot of work. So yeah, I think I'm using it for this type of things where you get inspired, and then sometimes I get a really good image. Now, this is a great image of a huge robot in a street. There's a small man there. This is actually not that bad because it actually understood something about perspectives in this one. It didn't understand scale because maybe I should have written, but again, if you write a humanoid or human-sized robot, it will not understand it. It will just put another robot in that is human size. So this is one of the issues that you really have here is this thing here. It's we'll just let it run one more, and I'm having it at a little higher resolution this time because it's much more easy to look at when you want to zoom in. Let's see here, because it's actually not that bad. Can see that the plant covered cars and there's a human. If I had it in 1024, it would have been much more clear, the result. One of the examples, while it's racing up and working in the background, I can show you one of these. This one is generated with 1024 by 1024, and it's much more closer to realistic in terms of consistency and straight lines and everything. So it can actually generate something quite nice. That was actually a good example for this one. Just the same scene that I have over here. Sorry, that you see here, but just rotated. So the camera angle was rotated to get this image, and I didn't change the prompt. And I could probably have said something like, the woman has a green sweater and a blah, 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 and then it would probably have been more consistent with the clothing, for instance, if I've done that, if I've specified more in my prompt. What they have said to me, at least Keyshot, is that the model that they have responds quite well with longer prompts. So if you really want to describe more in depth about the environment, it will work. It should work better, at least. Now let's see how it goes over here. Oh, the second one is still quite a big robot.
The people you have in those renders of your stool, are those also 3D models like this one of the robot?
The stool?
Yeah,
Sorry.
the people that are in this next to the stool, yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a model.
Okay.
It's over here. It's one of those models I downloaded for free at one point, and I just keep it because I keep back to it, and it's great for scale and everything. To add this human in it. There it is, Fabienne. It's called,
Oh, okay, cool.
so she's a 3D, but there you also see the issue with the scale, right?
Yeah.
What isn't in this case, obviously, it's not scaled up for reference, but it doesn't take into account that. But this is the model that I used.
Gotcha.
It's not a high-res model. It's actually not that. It's just because the textures looks nice.
Really
So
cool.
yeah, let's go back to here and Shift P. Okay, so we got three. Let's just stop it right now. So it's actually, this is one of the better examples actually, that it's kept quite a nice perspective. It could still work for all of these three. Obviously, the lighting in the robot is completely wrong for the image, but you know, you could probably have changed that, and then it would get better if I added a different type of lighting for this robot that I already have, because my environment obviously here plays into account in terms of what it's using here. But if you save the camera angle, which I think I did. No, I didn't. Okay, but if I had saved the camera angle, like this, then you could have changed your view and rendered out this one, and then I don't know, Photoshopped or something, or use this as a backdrop. If you can also like copy this or save it to somewhere on your desktop. Let's go. It's Boston chapter here and save. Just if I then went into my environment, and then no, not my environment. Yeah, my environment, and then added the backplate image here from this one, for instance. Then it would obviously, I didn't have the right angle, obviously, but then you could basically have played around with your the lighting in your scene, so that the robot would have been better lighted for this, and then you could have rendered it out again. So that's one, like, it's a way of hacking your background generation here to become more useful as well. What website do I use to download free models? CG Trader is one of them. I also use GrabCAD a lot for like more like a parametric models. They typically have quite a few ones that are detailed and good as well. So and they are all free, I think, under GrabCAD. Whereas in CG Trader you have to pay for some of them, and some of them are free as well. And then also the cloud library is good. The Keyshot cloud library. It used to be. I think that right now it's maybe not as great anymore, but it was great at one point. I think they cleaned it up because there was a lot of the models that were like older, but they have models as well here. So you can also download models here that are free and get it into Keyshot and use it. Okay. So
Do you download all the materials too, or is that part of the free downloads from CD Trader? And like, are you able to edit and adapt them within the software?
Well, if you download from CG Trader, you get models with textures as well. And when you add them to the scene, like an FBX file, and you have the material in the right location, obviously in the same folder as your FBX model, it will retain those materials once you put it in here. So yeah, it keeps it there. You can obviously, I think you can open it up and edit it a little bit, but I have not done that as much. I just kept using the same materials as they had. Or depending on what it was, I could also just add my own materials to it instead, if it were like simple things like a chair or something. But yeah, so you can get the materials in with them, and then it works. And that's also one of the reasons why using the cloud library again is a good example, because the materials come as well here. Once you download them here, you get them with materials and everything in here. Let's see.
For some of the like the organic materials, like the lemons, are you able to like edit the textures or coloring, or is it more so for like it's a lot harder with organic materials?
Yeah, but I think if you should be able to do that if you can locate the folder where it's in and then open it up in I guess Photoshop or something. Maybe you can edit it in there and then open that, save it, and then it will sort of link that new texture that you generated or created, sorry, in Photoshop. You should. I think you can. I've not worked that much with that part, but yeah, it should be possible.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think I downloaded them somewhere, so maybe it's in the downloads. That makes sense. Doesn't seem like they are anywhere here, which is weird. That was weird. No, it just didn't work for this time. Okay, but you can see it has actually worked for me in the past. Apparently not right now. Did it download to a folder somewhere instead? Yeah, okay, it did. Oh, that's maybe because it's Visun, sorry. Then maybe just add it down here. Normally it just adds it directly into your model library, which is super nice. But not this time around. All right. I think that sort of covers it with the background, and it works the same way. You just have to prompt your way through it. So somebody writes, could objects in Keyshot be used as part of the background? For instance, if you put a car next to the robot to help them. I tried this, and I haven't really gotten it to work as much. I've added things to it, but we can try it out for sure and see if it works. If I have a car, I maybe have something that looks like a car. Do I have a car? No, I don't have a car there. I have a car here. Let's put a Porsche in. Probably have to upscale my my model quite a lot here. Let's see, where did my model go? See, here it is. Yeah. Position. Am I scaling it or just moving it? And there it is. Okay. Let's do something like this then. Okay, so this is like the scene right now. If I go back to AI shots here and then do, we can try and do this and see what it says then. The question is if it understands that this is also a car that should be in the background, or it just uses, generates another car on top of this one. That's a good question. But we'll try it out and see if it helps with the scale. I've tried adding things because right now it's actually, like I said, it's keeping a good perspective, but I've had issues with this while it's generating. I can show you that again. Jump back to that over here. Sorry for here. Like this one is a background generated image where it didn't understand the perspective at all. So sometimes it's here as well. This is also a background of a kitchen that I loved. I actually like the kitchen a lot, but it didn't put my stool in the correct position. It just made it float. So that happens a lot. This is also a background, but this is where no, this is not a background, but this is a background. And I think it just didn't understand it at all. But at other times, this one, for instance, is actually these 4 cabinets is my model. And then I asked it to hang it on the, like I said, a wall in an apartment with some greenery, and it actually understood, or it fitted right there. Whereas this is a restyle shot of a different angle. So I used restyle for this one. And I still think it gets better results using restyle, but then you don't have the exact materials, which is a bit annoying. But you could probably use, I guess, some of the restyle for a backdrop as well. So if you can then get sort of a little bit of both, but you will not get it to be exactly matched with your light, for instance. All right, yeah. Okay, it's better with scale. Definitely got it to work better. So it might actually be a good workaround that you came up with there, Pietro. Let me just put it over here so we have it as a comparison. It's over here. Cool. All right, nice, super nice. Okay, it just reses up. So let's, I think, in the spirit of keeping the time, I'll jump. Yeah, and it's running locally. Yeah, that is quite cool. Imagine, did we go to that one? Yeah. All right, just a quick thing about Imagine. Imagine is basically an image generator, just like Midjourney and everything else, but it's using their model, which is also one of the problems with using Imagine right now, is that the model compared to other models is not great. It's good, but it's not great. And we'll try it out. Yeah, okay, this is because it's like forgot to pause this one, then it's slower to generate. That was so remember to pause every time. Otherwise it takes too long. Let's finish this one up and then move to the Imagine here. I can also click on that one. You can see here it says create entirely new images without constraints from the current scene. So it's ideal for concept exploration and inspiration, which basically means that you can ask it to create an alarm clock, for instance, or something like that, and it will generate that. And I have not been super impressed with this. Also, maybe because I'm so used to using all sorts of other AI image generators. So it's a little bit one of those things that I don't see yet as being great. I tried using it. Did it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop here. This is the second one. Just going back to that. So you can see it's very consistent with everything but the scale or the perspective maybe is a little bit off here with this one, at least if you compare it to the car in the background, whereas this one was more, I could say, feels more correct. But yeah, let's put it over here as well. Sorry, go. Okay, yeah, so this is actually the restyle and really a demo, but just saying that I tried to generate nylon fabric seamless texture, for instance, trying to see if I can use that and then use that texture for, let's say, a shoe or something. But the quality of this one, even I should probably have had a higher resolution, and it would probably be better if you do that. I actually think that I tried doing that with this one. So I think this one and this one and this one, these three lovely fabrics here, they're actually in a higher resolution, but it started adding these folds that I didn't want, especially when it's supposed to be seamless. So that didn't actually work as I was intending it, as it was intended. So it's much better to, in this case, it was better to have the lower resolution of 512 by 512 for this to use, but it just didn't do a great job with the texture. So kind of, you can say, failed. Do you have an idea for me to use let's try and use the image generator here? You guys would love to have some great ideas.
Do you normally use it for texture, or do you do it for like?
I rarely use it. I would say it's the least used AI tool in this. I use Restyle the most, background, medium, and then this one almost. I never use it because I use Midjourney or something else instead to generate.
Right.
So, for instance, just jumping out again to say how that workflow would have been. For this one, for instance, I generated a Japanese-inspired, but actually for the clock that we just saw earlier, I generated this Japanese-inspired bedroom, and I actually found a really nice scene, which was this one. And I then used, I saved that one down, and then I used Nano Banana, which to generate, let's go over here, just showing you this workflow. So it's kind of like moving it out of Keyshot, which is a bit of a shame, but right now it's I've explained all of this to Keyshot as well as how my current workflow is. So hopefully that will inspire them to create something like that. But I said, remove the glass from the bedside table that you just saw. And
wow.
Great job. It was super nice. I downloaded that one. And then I said, okay, this one, not that one, this one. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just move forward here. Yeah, actually, this one was also a good example. I had the render directly from Keyshot, and I tried to make it nighttime, which kind of worked in the second round where it actually kind of worked. But again, I had an image, this top image here, and I put that in together with the image that I just removed the glass from, and then I said place the lamp clock onto the bedside table in the photo with the bed. And it did.
Wow.
So quite quickly you get something that would have taken you a little bit longer to do in Photoshop. And if you needed to render out this quality in Keyshot, at least with my computer, it would have taken a long time to do that.
Yeah.
So
No, that's super cool.
and then you can go crazy. You can put a woman next to the bed. You can turn on the light. You can have her read. You can make it nice.
Wow.
So yeah, just saying that the workflow obviously is changing so fast. So Keyshot is doing everything it can to figure out how to to create good AI tools that actually works. Did you have other ideas for the Imagine? Sorry. All right. Thanks, Anshuman. Yeah, I do believe it needs a lot of catch up in terms of competition like WisCom. Yeah, that's true. Other than having your images saved locally, when would you use Keyshot AI over other ones? I think the Restyle one would be the one that I would use more often because it takes into account the 3D geometry, and I could see that working really well, especially in a phase where you have concepts and not really a detailed concept, if you can like maybe also it's maybe more in the ideation phase. So you have different ideas that you roughly cat it up so you get the right form or something, and then you throw it into Keyshot and you want to try out different materials. The Restyle one is really good. You also maybe wanted to put it in a context. Again, Restyle is really good for that. But you can also say generate a few easy no background material. You've chosen the right materials, and the right lighting, and you do some quick renders of that, and then you put that into something like Nano Banana, and then you make some magic happen there with context instead. You can do that as well, but I kind of like the Restyle actually, and I think that's really one of the greater tools that they have in this offering right now. Can you show again the initial image and prompt you use for the window at the moment? Yes, I can. Sorry, going over here. That was in Midjourney. So the original image is this one, and the prompt is a Japanese-inspired bedroom with focus on the nightstand, which has a glass of water placed on the. The reason why I did this with describing the glass of water, which is actually not as great, but it was because I wanted to have, something to focus on for that the AI could focus on and give me a good composition, so that I could remove that and then place what I actually needed to have there instead. So that's why I said I put something there. And then I said evening light coming in from the window and not visible in the picture. It's kind of still visible in the picture. That's this whole window that I didn't actually wanted originally, but I actually ended up liking it a lot. You can see I tried a few different ones here with a different aspect ratio as well. This one could have been nice to use, but in the end I ended up with the other one. So good.
So you generate the most of the context scene in Midjourney, and then you import it into Krea?
Yeah. And then I combine it with either screenshots from Keyshot or renders from Keyshot to get what I want at the end. It's relatively new, this kind of workflow for me, but it feels like I'm supercharging my contextual rendering skills with these new tools. Yeah.
Are you photoshopping out the glass of water before you import your model, or does Krea just like automatically delete that?
No. So that was exactly the thing that I didn't have to do that because I used Nano Banana to remove it. So in Krea, you got access to all the models, quite a lot of them. And then the first thing I did was I put in that image that you just saw with the glass of water, which is this one over here. And then I just said glass, no Photoshop.
Wow.
I could have used Photoshop, right? And I could just have, used the generative to remove. I think that would have probably also have worked fine, but I didn't have to. So my workflow basically ended up being a bit of Keyshot and then a bit of Midjourney and then Krea to sort of like mash it together. And then obviously, I'm going to stop myself before it gets too much. But I obviously also generated these small videos of somebody trying to do things with it, which it obviously sort of worked, but it's right. Again, it's not really necessary to have all these extra visuals. But right now, it's also a little bit of me figuring out when is it too much, when is it not relevant. But other times you kind of need to convince people about something. And then it's quite nice to have these tools available. It would have taken a little bit more time if you had a model to find somewhere to set up a scene with a good lighting and a bed and the right. So it's maybe easier to style it in something like Midjourney and then use that. Okay, I still need to do an Imagine one. Let's see. Let's try a bedside. I think we already did that. What can we do?
Mats, for including the human, did you include her from Midjourney or did you include her using Nano Banana from Krea?
Nano banana.
Gotcha. That looks very good. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, I agree.
Like the lighting, like everything. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things yeah, you're still scratching your head, right? It is really impressive how fast it's moving. And the reason why I think it's good to keep up with these things is because both as a junior designer, because you then can use these tools and become better at visualizing and communicating your ideas. But for a senior designer or a design manager, knowing that these tools are there and how they work will also help you assess if there's a portfolio coming in at some point where there are these amazing renders and you're like, oh wow, that's super cool. Is everything done in how did they do it? And if you don't have an updated knowledge, right, about how you can do it today, you would maybe uh, think that it would have taken longer to do than it actually did, or that they have super skills in Photoshop, for instance, which they don't need to anymore. And it's okay that they don't need to do it. I think it's actually good if they know how to composite a good image and get a good composition and get a good lighting and everything. But it's definitely something that I think will change a little bit the way that we have worked. You can also see that right now. It's changing a little bit the workflow of working with 3D files. And I only see that getting more and more different with tools like Viscom and some of the updates here with the AI shots for Keyshot and stuff. Sorry. How much does adding a floor or other basic shapes to the model help provide more context for lighting and other elements? Definitely helps, especially with restyle. And here you can see it also kind of helped a little bit, at least with but maybe it's because I used the word street in when we did this, then it almost all the time knows that that is like level. If I had not used street but something else, maybe. So I think maybe the prompt is more relevant for you to get the correct sort of image generated than maybe the stuff inside it, because it honestly doesn't know X, Y, Z, or it doesn't know the sizes or scale, anything. It only has a mask of your models that it's then using, right? So, yeah. I think that if you look at these, like for instance, the background here, it kind of already tells how well Imagine works as a model. It's pretty nice. It's pretty good for these types of things, right? Indoor, outdoor scenes. Like I used with the shoe. Let's see if I can. Where did I put that? Yeah, this one, for instance. So you can see it's really over enhanced this one, but the background here is generated in Keyshot using the background, and this one is actually the restyle, and then I basically I think I used I used Nano Banana to replace this shoe. There was a shoe here before because it was the background, so it was just the original shoe with no shading. I don't think I have it in here. Yeah, this one. Right. So this was what came out of Keyshot. And then I had this one that also came out of Keyshot. And then I used these two and then I just used Nano Banana to say replace it. So I didn't have to do any photoshopping, but I just could prompt my way to it. Again, shortcutting everything, and it kind of worked. So quite well. Okay. Do you want me to show Imagine, or is that okay that we don't do that?
Whatever you guys think. If you
'Cause
guys have time, we still have the same amount of participants, so if you want to do it really quickly, that would be
yeah, we can.
cool.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I would approach this as any other image generation tool. So I would have something that I need to describe, and in this case, it doesn't at all take into account what's in the scene. So you can generate whatever you want here. So if you were, for instance, working on let's say you're working on a tool that you want to maybe have a contextual. Let's say you're working on a new a ruler, a stationary product, calculator. Let's say calculator, a small oblong calculator on a leather mat on a wooden desk in a modern office, for instance. Then I've set the scene, I set the object, and then I wanted to maybe add natural lighting, 3/4, there's a top perspective. Let's just do that, top perspective. So I have the perspective. Can I write perspective? So I have the camera and I have the lighting and I have the setting and I have the part, right? That's basically how I would do it. And then I would change whatever I need here and then say start generation, and it would then start generating an image, and just an image based on the prompt. So the more you detail your prompt, the better the result, hopefully, or at least to some degree. But in this case, there's nothing of the 3D model that you have over here that will help you, which is what I think is the least enticing thing with all these tools, because I think that's what makes Keyshot great, is that it already has the 3D data, and even also I think it could even be improved even further if it also used the textures that you already have applied to your model, for instance. Even in Restyle, that would be awesome if it did that as well. Okay, let's see. It's generating. Yeah, it's got a calculator. It's on a desk. It's on a leather mat. Maybe I should have said like I don't know, like maybe a longer mat where you actually have room for a mouse and the keyboard and stuff. But anyway, it got a little small calculator mat. Super nice. The perspective is pretty good. There's quite a nice depth of field in the photo as well. But as you can see, it's it's an image generator, and in this case, if I just press view here, you can also see that it's not great, right? It's like this resolution is not great. At least if I let's just finish this one and make one with a higher resolution, just to see what it's capable of. Yeah, let's do this one. Just to compare that it actually gets better if you have a higher res, but it just takes longer. And I think he mentioned something, one of the guys from Keyshot, he said that if you double the resolution, you quadruple the amount of time or the calculations that is required to generate the image. So it's not one-to-one scale. It's quite a lot more apparently work for it to do that. So that's why I always keep it in at least a 5x512 by 512, because then my computer can actually run it. Hopefully in time they'll have more optimized models that will not require as much. And of course, our computers always gets, if you updated them sometime, it will be better and better, obviously. So there's that as well. I don't know if they're actually looking for, let's say, some kind of cloud thing, but I think then the whole idea of having it local then goes out the window, and then I don't think it's actually as relevant. I think that's one of the better reasons for using Keyshot and this sort of AI generation thing here, is that it's locally run, so nobody else sees it and nobody else can use it and train the models on it, which I think is quite good. Oh, I had a few questions there. Just like how you used NanoBanana and other, do you have a workflow you use on the successful render generation you get from Keyshot AI to something else? Or does your process end with Keyshot? No, I think that depends on what I want to get out of it, I guess. My workflow not always ends with Keyshot AI. Sometimes I need to go out and res it up, for instance. I then use an AI upscaler. For instance, Crea has one that's called Crea Enhance. It works pretty well for textures and skins and fabrics and stuff. Do you use AI to help create backdrops and then render your work again, overlaying on the image, helping you to get what you exactly. So do you use AI to help create backdrops and then render your work again? Yeah, sometimes I use AI to create the backdrops, and then I render. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Re-render my stuff on that, or I have started using Nano Banana basically to do the same thing. So I have nice renders, and then I generate a nice background, and then I say place it here, and then it does that. So all right. Did it just stop? Oh, didn't I press start with the generation? No, maybe it stopped. Let's see if it actually works. Okay, we'll go back to while it does this, we'll go back to the presentation because we are namely running a little bit out of time. So one of the things was in terms of limitations that we were talking about. We have been through a lot of these, so it will be more or less repetition. In terms of general, right now I cannot change the format to other than 1:1, so it's a little bit annoying. You can't get like a 16:9 or something aspect ratio. I don't think that it's consistent enough yet. Again, this thing, if you have a lot of assets in there and you move it around, it still generates something quite different the next time, especially if you haven't specified it in the prompt. So I think maybe it's a matter of prompting your way to get closer to something that is consistent, but it will never get completely consistent. I think when there's not a lot of parts in there, it doesn't understand scale very well. But obviously, if you have, let's say, if you prompt it to be a calculator, for instance, if you prompted a calculator, it might get a better result, but then you might also risk that it will add something to around your object that you don't want, like the legs on the stool, for instance. So there's a risk there. I hate that there's no masking. It would be awesome to have a nice masking feature, like some sort of composition tool, so you could do a lot more inside of Keyshot. There's also no upscaler, which is a shame, but we talked about that. I think that will come. There's no autosave as it is for now. So everything, if you crash it, you loses everything. So you always have to remember to save your stuff at the moment. And the most annoying thing is that you cannot iterate on images you like. So let's say I found one of these, for instance, that I really liked, like this one, and I wanted to have more in the same. I cannot reuse this image to use, like say, use this as reference and then iterate on that inside a Keyshot, which is annoying. How's it going with it's almost done with the first image here in higher res, so we can look at that when it's done here. In terms of Imagine. It's almost done. Let's see here. Start. Come. No. Okay, it's still working. Give it some more time. In terms of restyle, there's a few things. There's no way to this thing about keep parts of your generated image and then build on the rest. Like that's also annoying. So let's say you actually got something great, like a plant in the background that you want to keep, but you cannot like mask it out and say save that and render out something new on around it. That's a little bit annoying. I think that would be a good tool to have. Sometimes it doesn't get the form. So if you prompt it with something it's been trained on to look a certain way, like the stool or the watch, there's some things that doesn't really work there. And still this thing about detailed materials, it's not really great at that yet, but if I had a stronger computer, I would have tested it out in 2000 by 2000. I tried that one time, and all I got was just a lot of my computer just basically just died on me. So it was just like a lot of grain. It didn't. I couldn't do it. Oh yeah, this thing about the form. That was the thing where I said instead of using the word stool, I used the word an object, and it actually worked better. So this thing about more general term might work for understanding the form better. The background, the very big issue is that you don't have the scale, but actually we kind of solved that by adding more into it, at least somehow, even though it doesn't really take into account. Maybe it understands it a little bit better. It doesn't have the perspective knowledge. That wasn't a problem if you prompt your way in a good way, if you use words that are commonly known as being always shown at level, it might be better at understanding the scale. So that's maybe something to think about in terms of prompting. And then Imagine, it doesn't really compare to the other models that are out there right now because they obviously have a lot more data that they've been trained on. But as you can see here, it's not bad. This was the last image. It's definitely a little bit better, higher resolution and stuff, but it's not perfect, right? But it's better now than before. So you can definitely do something with it, right? Let's just copy that one, put it over here. You can also see the size here. So yeah, I think this is an interesting thing, right? The higher the res, the better the image actually. That's probably good learning. In terms of possibilities, sorry, because I didn't have any more here. I would say that I think that there is like this.
Could you
Sorry?
repeat what you just said about the more resolution? Did you just say the more resolution, the better the image, or what was it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's what it does, right? It takes more time, obviously, as you also noticed, to generate, but it gets higher resolution and it gets more details. Like this one is, you can tell
Okay.
it's sort of greenery, but it's like, it's not great, right? Whereas over here, you're not in doubt that this is quite a nice wood grain, for instance.
I
But the
see.
numbers are
Gotcha.
still off, right? So, but the overall size of the calculator is pretty consistent. So it's getting better references. You can say it's getting more detail. So it's in that way, it's a better picture because it's a little bit sharper, basically. You can also see the planes here. That's a little bit more correct. If I had rested up to 2000 or something by 2000, I think it would have been better. Maybe there's a tipping point somewhere between 2000 and 4000, I don't know, where it's like, doesn't really matter. But because it takes so long, I haven't been able to test it on my 4-year-old computer, apparently. So learning here is that I need to get a new computer for next time I have these sessions. But I think that in terms of possibilities for Keyshot, and now I'm focusing on that really, because there's a lot of other possibilities with AI, but I think that right now it says AI shots and it's the new AI features and blah, 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 blah. I think they will fade away. I hope they will fade away the word AI, and I would also hope that they don't have focus on getting AI in as like, because we need AI. It's more like saying, I want to have a smarter Keyshot that will work better for my workflow. So if I have tools inside there that can assist me, let's say you can write to, maybe there's a prompt in the beginning of yours when you load something in there and you say, all right, I want to have a standard scene with 3 lights, and it automatically sets up your scene with 3 physical lights, for instance, pointing towards the center. If you prompted that, that would be helpful. That would require you to do less work, and you will still get where you want to go inside a Keyshot. So I think these type of assisting tools that are focusing on your workflow in Keyshot and optimizing that and making it better, even suggesting something. So let's say it learns your way of working with Keyshot, then it maybe also suggests, all right, for this type of project, if this is a wooden stool, you have these 10 wood materials that you typically use. So they are like in the top of your wooden, so it's easy to find or something like that. Would be helpful, maybe. I don't know. So I think that's something. Obviously, upscaling, we talked about that a few times. I think that's really something that they need to work on. And I know that they're working on it. So I'm really hoping that it will come soon. I talked about editing tools inside of it because my workflow right now is Nano Banana. But before that, like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, it was Photoshop, right? So I think they need some sort of editing tools in there. This thing about talking to it, if you could constantly talk and iterate your way through a scene all the way to the finished render, that would be a very interesting way of working with Keyshot, I think. Maybe even making it so that you say, I really want, maybe you can even use a reference image to say, I want something like this. What type of light should I use for that? Could you help me out? And then it would say, maybe it would guide you through it, or it would even should come up with a template scene or something. I don't know. And that also leads me to this thing about, I think there's 2 ways that I want Keyshot to go in. Keyshot has always been like a plug and play, drag and drop kind of feature where it's very easy to use and you can get really far really easy. But then there are all these things like the material graph where it's much more controlled and you can go in and add a lot of textures and grains and unevenness and really set up your lighting and control your animations and everything. So I think that if Keyshot could become this really easy to use tool with AI, but also as like sort of a helping hand, and then also maybe giving even more control and options for the people that want that, maybe in some kind of node-based workflow with I don't know how that would work, but like giving you more control. I think that is some of the possibilities that I think and I hope that Keyshot will work in the future, because I think that's really, really valuable for us. And you had a lot of questions, and I think, well, if you have more questions, that would be the time to put them in. Because that was all I had. Sorry. I should have probably said that. And I think time is always running out. So maybe that was quite.
Well, you know, I think most of the people asked their questions through the chat.
Yeah.
So that was pretty helpful to have everyone kind of involved, and everyone seemed very curious. We love to see your transparency and in your workflow. It's just amazing and very helpful to show us how you go back and forth within all the other tools, and that it's not like just one that saves all the issues. And now that you mentioned that nano-analysis is like your go-to, it's also another one that we should tap into, because I know it's pretty recent.
Yeah, so I think you should definitely. But one of the things that you probably also like, this is all my personal stuff right now. I have not tried using Nano Banana for commercial work, and I don't know. I've tried to research, how do I get something like that to work either locally, or how does it even work? Because it's a Google model, so I'm assuming that everything that I put up there will also be trained or will be used to train on there, that they can use that to help become better. And I'm all against us all learning, as you can see, because I'm sharing everything. But I think that it's very if you're under NDA or you're using some sort of proprietary whatever design or something that you cannot share with anyone, and then you should probably not use something like that for the moment, at least until we know more about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Jason, the Crea nightstand. Yeah, just gonna show that so you can put it up here. But the Crea nightstand prompt was actually not you're thinking the image that I generated was this one, and this was a prompt. So that was actually Midjourney. For some reason, at least from what I can tell, and maybe it's because I personalized this with a lot of images. So the style that I'm looking for and going for it's giving me a lot of that. It hits more the style that I'm looking for whenever I use Midjourney than other tools. Not that I can't get great results of other tools, but this has just been my go-to for so long, and I can keep optimizing it. So that's why I go back to Midjourney again and again. Maybe also because they have also brutally scraped the whole internet to get great results, and then that's what they're building on, and that's why I like it, because it's pretty good at what it does, right? Yeah. Sorry. It's just taking.
No, thank you so much. That helps.
Cool. But thanks again for inviting me for this. As I say, I always enjoy teaching, not teaching, but also I also enjoy that. But I enjoy talking and sharing the stuff that I do and that I'm passionate about. So if there's anything else you would like me to look into or help out with, or talk about, you can reach out again.
Thank you so much.
And also to everyone that was following along, if they have any questions, you can find me on Instagram as well. So yeah, you already shared that. Thanks, Adoni. Yeah. So that's so reach out to me there if there's any questions as well. So
Thank you, Matt. No, this is super helpful, and I feel that everyone enjoyed and had a good time. And everyone will probably get the recording of this event, and we'll probably share. We'll of course share it with you too. And of course, looking forward to do more, as you can also bring up ideas to us if you would like to ever share something else. And we'll be super happy to have you hosting again.
Thanks. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much, everyone. And please keep up with any of our events at our Instagram and LinkedIn at IDSA Boston. And we'll be looking forward to see you in all of our other events. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.